Okay, morning guys. I just thought I'd do a follow-up vid to the one about reroll conservation that I put up, kind of part 2, because there was one or two things that I felt like I just needed to elaborate on, kind of clear up. Maybe some of the concepts aren't as straightforward. These videos are kind of intended for new players, like I said previously, but some of it will be useful to anyone, I'm guessing. Well, I'm hoping anyway, at least. So I kind of misspoke a little bit when I, towards the end, started talking about fitting in rerolls, not sacrificing, your positionals to do so. And that was what I was kind of trying to get at was, not trying to cram in those really expensive star players, because I've seen guys do it. As I said, this isn't just something that I'm making up. I've seen guys take these tournaments, and at the end of the day, if that's what you want to do, then go ahead. But these videos are just kind of meant to help you get a little bit more competitive, and hence why I'm saying these things. For instance, you've got Grim Ironjaw on the dwarf team, and for what you get from him, he's just too expensive to fit in. And likewise, you've got Lord Borak and things like that. These players that are maybe fun to try, but when you look at the gold pieces that they cost, it's just not worth it. Now, there's one sort of, if I was going to copy and paste in kind of a paragraph of text here, one thing I just wanted to kind of expand on is that, like I said, I deal with the tournament scene more. So you may be playing pickup games at home with your mates, or you may be running a league, and you deal with a starting roster of 1 million gold pieces. Now, typically, here in the UK, it may be different in North America or in Europe, wherever you are. Typically in the UK, we kind of go off 1.1 million gold pieces as a starting allowance for tournament rule sets. Reason being, obviously leagues are a progressional thing, whereas the tournament format is it's a resurrection style. So that means that the team that you pick to start the tournament with, it resets after every game. So you pick your skills, and you don't gain any skills. Some tournaments do a progressional kind of thing, but typically you get your skill selections, and any injuries that take place. So you get that star blitzer that you've put together, and if he dies game 1, no big deal. Your team resets each round, so it just goes back to how you started the tournament, and so that way everyone sort of plays with a level playing field each round. And the reason why I wanted to just elaborate on that and what the tournament seems like, as I said, that's just a typical example. I see a lot more 1.2 million tournaments these days, but we're dealing with a slightly higher gold allowance than you may be playing if you're just going off the rulebook at home. So that means you can fit in your positionals, like all your blitzes and things that you might need, and you can afford the rerolls. What I kind of wanted to try and get you guys away from, is sacrificing rerolls for things that aren't entirely optimal. And I think that's what I was trying to get at, not sacrificing the optimization of your team. So when I said don't sacrifice all of your blitzers, well, that's not entirely true as a comment, because, for example, when I take the Slan team, I think they're like Kislev Circus now in Blood Bowl 2 or something like that. But the Slan team, for example, which wasn't, I don't think it was in the rule book entirely, but we played it as official in NAF tournaments. I don't even take blitzers. They're too expensive on that team for what they do. So obviously, maybe going forward, I'll post literally a video for each race, each team, and kind of go off what I would call optimal choices for each one. I'm not entirely sure yet. I think I've got the NAF Championships, the annual, the biggest tournament of the year, really, in Nottingham at the end of the month. So I think I'll probably start with putting together a roster video for what I might take to that, and we can sort of go from there, using that as an example. So So we're talking about not sacrificing the optimization of your team. As I said, 2 re-rolls at a minimum. Now that might be that you take the leader skill on the thrower and then you roster 1 re-roll. Yes, that gives you just about enough, I would say. And you know, this is just my opinion, guys, so some of the experienced guys listening, not that you obviously have to be experienced to have an opinion on it, but you may disagree. This is just what I'm kind of like trying to pass down to the new guys, because I've seen, as I said, rosters with only 1 reroll, either rostered or just with the leader skill. I've seen that actually taken. So you may take that 1 leader skill and that 1 rostered reroll, giving you 2 rerolls, and like an apothecary or something like that, because apothecaries are 50k if you can take them. They're really useful on certain teams that can, you know, afford such lavish things, like the humans and the dwarfs. I love an apothecary. On my dwarfs, basically, it just gets used for the first knockout or you know, whatever happens. And with those guys, I can comfortably afford 3 rerolls still. That might not be the case for every race. You may be kind of just trying to squeeze in, for instance, I'm looking at putting together a Wood Elf list. I don't know if I'll take Wood Elves to this tournament, but I was just looking at it this morning. And on that list, you can only take the 1 rostered reroll and get the leader skill on the thrower. And that's basically what you can afford with your treatment in there and things like that at 1.1 million. So have a look at the rosters. Try to steer yourself away from the glitzy looking star players that you might be tempted by, and have a look at getting that comfortable level of rerolls in. As I said, I think I probably will go through most races, I guess. You know, hold my hands up, I haven't played them all yet. I haven't done the 24, as it's called, playing each race at a tournament, and that's yet to come. So, and the other thing is, I could lay out a roster for each race, and there'll be plenty of people out there that completely disagree on you know, on what skills I've taken for it. So what we'll do is we'll take a look at that, but I just wanted to expand on 1 or 2 things. The other is just a wider concept of risk management outside of reroll conservation. So for example, okay, you've paid attention and you've decided, yeah, I'm not going to skimp out on the rerolls. I've taken 2 or 3. Let's say you've taken 3, and you're going to try and be a little wiser and not use them so much. Now, I felt after I listened back a little bit of a diluted example when I said you've got your dwarf Longbeard on the line, you roll a push and a skull. Some of you might be sort of a little bit more sensible than others, a little bit more level-headed, and think, well, no, I wouldn't re-roll that. That isn't a failed dice block. But then you've got the other example I gave of where I was re-rolling failed dodges, and that might be something that, certainly from the start, you would be tempted to immediately re-roll. Let's take, for example, you know, if on that line, that block on the line, you roll a double skull straight away, first turn. You might look at that and think, well, you know, I don't want my turn to finish there. I usually treat myself to one re-roll on a double skull with my dwarfs, because I always roll 1 at least somewhere. With the 3 re-rolls, that is the kind of thing that I have got quite good at not re-rolling a second time, unlike the dodges that I did with the humans. Anyway, yeah. So you might roll a double skulls, take a look at it and think, well, you know, my dwarf or my orc or whatever it is, he's armor 9. Maybe it's a human lineman at armor 8 or something like that. If he hits the deck, well, you know, it's not entirely likely that his armor will break. Especially with the dwarf's god, you've got the thick skull as well to keep you out of trouble there. But it depends. Have a look at the situation. Have a look at what you've achieved in the turn so far. Think about if the ball's safe. If the ball isn't safe, then naturally you're going to have to think about re-rolling that and getting the ball safe. But if there's no real danger and you roll that double skulls, is it really worth using that re-roll, burning that re-roll? Probably not. So just have a little think when you fail that dice roll. If it's really that bad of a situation, that vital, that your turn keeps going, or if it's okay for your turn to end there. Now, there's another couple of things that you can do to kind of mitigate that risk, and the other thing is built-in skills. We kind of sort of brushed past that a little bit, but you take, for example, the sure hands skill. Some races start with it. Not everyone does. You get Skaven thrower has the sure hands. You may carry with the guts runner anyway, but he's got it. Humans, dwarves. Now, sure hands is a great skill because not only does it allow you to use a skill reroll for a failed pickup anyway on the guy that's going to be carrying the ball, but it also works as a defensive skill against strip ball, which pretty much every Wood Elf coach you come across will likely have on a War Dancer, and that can be crucial, to be honest. So that's one skill to think about. If we're talking about tournaments, and the other thing I didn't sort of lay out when I was talking about the gold pieces is usually in tournaments what we find is we'll get a little skill pack from the tournament organizer to attribute to the team. So just for sheer example, that might be just 6 single roll skills, so no doubles, and you can only, for example, give 1 skill per player. So 6 of you guys are going to get a single skill, and you can pick whatever you want. So for example, on that Wood Elf team, straight away you go leader on the thrower, strip ball on the War Dancer, and tackle, or another option is frenzy on the other War Dancer. And you've got what you need there. You can use the other 3 and whatever. But for certain other teams, you may look at it and sure hands is a great skill to give to someone. So maybe that Hobgoblin on your Chaos Dwarf team. Sorry, I just went over a pothole there. Yeah, that Hobgoblin on your Chaos Dwarf team, or your I don't believe the Norse off the top of my head start with sure hands, so that's not a bad one to give to your runner or something like that. So that's another way of helping yourself deal with the manage the risk that's involved in conserving your re-rolls, your team re-rolls. Leader, another one. If you've got your skill pack in the tournament, it's never really a wasted skill to put on your thrower. If you can already fit in comfortably 3 re-rolls, then you don't necessarily need to use leader on your skill set. But if you, for example, can only roster in 2, that leader is really going to give you that nice little bit of cushion. Now, the leader skill, not that I need to sort of dictate the rules to you, you've no doubt got the rule book. The leader skill is only effective when the leader player is on the pitch. So basically, that's the first thing that you want to use. If you need to use a reroll, a team reroll, just specify to your opponent, okay, if I have to reroll anything, then the first reroll will be with the leader skill. Sort of set that out at the start of the game, and then, because if you haven't specified that, I've never met anyone that would kick off, but you never know when we're playing games. So that's another skill that can be really helpful in helping you sort of get another reroll in there. Yeah, so all in all, have a think about it. If you have any questions, that's where pop them in the comments, and I'll try and do some responses as well. Or if you have any critiques, comments, if you have a different opinion, certainly I'd like to think a few more experienced players will listen to these things as well and just give me some, of their viewpoints, because everyone's going to have a different perspective on things. Even a minor thing about, as I said there, the Wood Elf War Dancer taking tackle or frenzy, that can be a little debate in its own. But if you have any other opinions, have any other comments or questions, then feel free to leave me a comment, and we'll try and resolve things in future videos. These things aren't going to be a slick production by any means. It's basically just me riffing in the car with a microphone on my way to work. So yeah, it ain't going to be a glossy production by any means. I apologise for that. But yeah, we'll try and put out some tips and things like that will help you improve your game and be a little bit more successful on the pitch. So, alright guys, we'll leave it there for now. So get rolling some dice, get playing some Blood Bowl, and we'll see you later.